Welcome to Law of One Wisdom. Today we're diving into session 6.
And this is a really big one.
It is. What if I told you that the physical body you see in the mirror isn't a permanent reality, but like a temporary suit of manipulated light?
Right. Or that the UFOs operating in our skies right now aren't actually here to make diplomatic contact.
Yeah, exactly. What if they're deliberately functioning as this giant cosmic question mark just to break us out of our daily illusions?
It's kind of wild because it completely upends the way we navigate our entire reality.
It really does. And to reach those massive paradigm-shifting concepts,
Yeah,
we have to start in a very quiet, focused room.
we do. We are stepping back into January 24th, 1981.
Right. Don Elkins is the questioner, Carla Rueckert is the instrument, and Jim McCarty is the scribe. And Ra, who is a sixth-density social memory complex, is communicating through Carla.
So I want to invite you to take a breath and just settle in with us. We're treating this text not as, a curious piece of sci-fi, but as a profound philosophical framework.
Yeah, absolutely. Our mission for this contemplation is really to cross a bridge. We're starting with the deeply intimate internal mechanics of spiritual healing.
And then we're going to walk all the way out into the sweeping cosmic history of humanity, planetary cycles, and the true purpose of the unknown.
So we begin with the internal mechanics, right? Because
Yeah.
Don asks Ra to expand on the energy powers of healing.
Yeah, and Ra introduces this structural concept here. They describe the spiritual complex as a pathway, or a shuttle.
A shuttle, right.
They explain that when the mind and body are properly receptive, the spirit basically becomes a functioning shuttle. It moves from the individual's own will reaching upwards and connects with what Ra calls the creative fire and wind reaching downwards.
I want to pause on that terminology just because it's beautiful, but, it's really dense.
Oh, for sure.
To understand the shuttle, Ra uses the analogy of a tree. They say the mind is like a tree that controls the body.
Right.
And to get the body to become a tuned instrument, the mind has to be what Ra calls single-pointed, balanced, and aware.
Let's unpack the physics of that tree analogy, because the mind isn't just a brain processing thoughts in this context. It's the trunk of the tree.
The trunk. Yeah.
And the roots reach deep into the spiritual realm, while the branches dictate the movements of the physical body.
So if the trunk, the mind, right, is scattered or anxious, the energy from the roots can't flow up cleanly to the branches.
Exactly. The body, Ray notes, just needs to be comfortable in its own natural biases. It doesn't need to be physically perfect or anything.
Right. It just needs to be balanced for that specific individual. And once you achieve that single-pointed mind and a comfortable body, you create a clear conduit,
And that conduit opens up into what Ray terms intelligent infinity.
which is such a huge concept. For anyone new to this material, intelligent infinity is essentially the boundless, unpotentiated energy of the creator.
It's the infinite sea of pure potential out of which all reality is actually constructed.
Yeah. And healing happens by opening a pathway into that infinite energy. But Ray draws a very sharp distinction regarding how you open that pathway.
A very crucial distinction, yeah.
They specifically warn against tearing it open using chemicals, like LSD. They say that creates a random hole or gateway in the spiritual energy field.
The emphasis there is really on the word random. Because when someone forces an opening through chemical means, they certainly tap into intelligent infinity. The energy is real.
Right, the experience happens.
Yes. But because the mind hasn't been disciplined to be single-pointed, there is zero control. Ray points out that the entities or energies that come through these random holes, well, they may or may not actually wish to serve. It's an unpredictable vulnerability.
It makes me think about trying to access a locked, highly secure building. Using a heavy psychedelic to force a spiritual experience is kind of like blowing the door off its hinges with explosives.
Oh, that's a great way to put it.
Right, because you get inside, absolutely. The experience is totally undeniable, but now the door is utterly destroyed. You have zero control over what wanders into the building behind you, and you can't secure the space anymore.
Exactly. What Ra advocates is more like the slow, deliberate work of sitting at a workbench and filing the grooves of a key.
Yes, you balance the mind, you accept the body.
And when you finally craft that key, you can open the door consciously, walk through, and crucially, you can lock it behind you.
Yeah, which is huge. Taking that a step further, having that agency fundamentally changes the output of the energy, doesn't it?
It really does. Ra explains that to outside observers, the results of connecting to intelligent infinity look like miracles. The sick are healed, the impossible happens.
Right.
But Ra explicitly states, and I'm going to quote here, To the one who has carefully opened the door to intelligent infinity, this is ordinary. This is commonplace. This is as it should be.
Wow. Ordinary.
Yeah. Miracles aren't magical anomalies or like breaks in the laws of physics. They are simply the natural mechanics of a conscious universe operating through an unobstructed, carefully maintained channel.
Well, and if maintaining that channel requires such delicate, conscious precision, it fundamentally changes how we view the environment where this channeling actually takes place.
Yes, the physical room.
Right. Don asks Ra if a guest, Tom Flaherty, can attend their next session. Ra agrees, but insists that Tom must be carefully instructed on the appurtenances.
And when Don asks for clarification, Ra specifies they mean the symbolic objects placed around Carla in the room. You know, a Bible, a candle, incense.
Which sounds suspiciously like ritual superstition, doesn't it?
It really does sound like that at first glance.
Right.
But Ra is very clear about the mechanics here. These objects do not possess intrinsic magical powers. They are energetic tools.
Right.
Ra states that these items trigger the instruments, though Carla's distortions towards love and light.
We should probably define distortion here, because in our everyday language, a distortion is a negative thing, like static on a radio.
Right, something gone wrong.
Exactly. But in the law of one framework, it has a very specific meaning.
It does. Think of intelligent infinity as an infinitely large, blank white canvas of pure unity. A distortion is simply a brushstroke on that canvas.
Oh, I like that.
Any experience, any individualization, any focus of energy away from pure, static unity is technically a distortion. Gravity is a distortion. Physical matter is a distortion.
And love and light are the primary foundational distortions of creation.
Exactly. So when Ra says these objects trigger Carla's distortions towards love and light, they mean the Bible and the candle act as psychological and energetic anchors.
They help our mind focus its energy into the specific frequency of love.
It's all about engineering an environment of absolute safety. Ra says the placement and loving acceptance of them by all present is important in the nurturing of this instrument.
Because she is acting as a dimensional shuttle, which is physically and mentally exhausting, the room literally must be a fortress of intentional peace.
It really prompts a question for you listening right now. What appurtenances do you use in your own life?
Yeah, like before you step into a difficult conversation or a really demanding task, what symbolic rituals or objects do you rely on to trigger your own focus toward love and light?
We all construct these environments, whether we do it consciously or not.
We do. And that intense protective focus on the communication line naturally raises a question about the identity of the intelligence on the other side.
Right. Dawn asks Ra for their historical background prior to their involvement with Earth. And Ra reveals that they originated as a race from a planet within our own solar system.
Specifically, the planetary influence we call Venus.
Venus, yeah.
Ra says, "We are a race old in your measures." They described their physical form when they inhabited the sixth dimension of Venus.
And what did they look like?
They were tall, somewhat delicate, and possessed what Ra calls a golden luster to their integument or skin.
In that golden sixth density form, they decided to travel to Earth to offer teachings.
Right.
But Ra admits this early mission was a pretty massive failure. Because their appearance was so radiantly different from the humans of that era, they just did not integrate.
Yeah, Ra describes finding themselves in the hypocritical position of being acclaimed as other than your other self.
Which just completely undermines their entire philosophy.
Mm.
The law of one dictates that all things are ultimately one unified creator.
Right, so if you show up to teach unity, but the locals immediately build altars and worship you as some separate, superior sun god, the message is totally lost.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But, you know, the really staggering detail here isn't the worship, it's the physics of their travel.
Oh, man, yeah. Dawn asks how they journeyed from Venus to Earth, and Ra simply answers, "We used thought."
We use thought. It's just, this is where Ra's cosmology challenges everything we know about physics.
Completely. Ra elaborates, referring to a practice they call the exercise of the wind. They say, the dissolution into nothingness is the dissolution into unity, for there is no nothingness.
I have to hit pause here and push back on our normal assumptions for a second. When we think of space travel, we imagine propulsion, you know, metal hulls crossing physical distance over time.
Right, rockets.
Yeah, but from a sixth density perspective, physical distance is an illusion. Ross says they use thought to manipulate the intelligent infinity present in every single particle of light.
I'm quoting Ra here. They manipulated distorted light to clothe ourselves in a replica visible in the third density.
You really have to let the weight of that sink in. They didn't build a ship. They didn't even transport their golden Venusian bodies.
No.
They translated their consciousness into the vibratory rate of Earth's third density and then wove local light into a physical avatar that humans would perceive as solid flesh.
But wait, if a sixth density being views a physical body simply as a suit of clothes, like a hard light hologram they can construct and dissolve with a thought,
Yeah.
that deeply challenges the permanence of our own biological reality. I mean, we look in the mirror, we stub our toes, we feel pain, and we naturally conclude this flesh is the ultimate solid truth.
Of course we do. It feels so real.
But Ra's perspective suggests that all matter, including our bodies, is just light that has been stepped down and locked into a very specific vibratory rate. We are literally walking light constructs.
That is precisely the implication of the law of one. Matter is essentially just frozen light. And Ra mentions they couldn't just manifest these light bodies arbitrarily. They actually had to request permission.
From the council that guards this planet.
Right. Dawn asks where this council is located, and Ra states it resides in the 8th dimension of the planet Saturn, specifically in the area we perceive as the rings.
Which transforms our view of the solar system completely. It's not just a collection of dead rocks orbiting a star. It is a bustling, multidimensional ecosystem of spiritual governance.
It really is.
But, if Ra went through all the trouble of manipulating planetary energy and seeking council permission just to build temporary bodies to walk among us, who exactly were they walking among?
That is the big question. We tend to assume humanity is a single native species that just evolved linearly here on Earth.
Right. But Ra shatters that assumption entirely. Earth's population, according to Ra, is actually composed of various groups that have been harvested from other planetary spheres.
Humanity is essentially a cosmic melting pot. Dawn specifically asks about entities from other planets in our solar system, and Ra points to a planetary sphere they refer to by the sound vibration Maldek.
Maldek. Ra explains that Maldek was a planet in our solar system that was literally destroyed by its own inhabitants.
Just completely blown up.
Yeah. Because they blew up their planetary sphere, these souls were trapped in a state of deep confusion and nodding of their energy. They required a new home to continue their spiritual progression.
And Earth was the only third-density planet available, capable of offering the required lessons.
Dawn asks for the timeline, and Ra notes this planetary destruction occurred approximately 500,000 of our years ago.
Meaning Earth has spent 500,000 years acting as a cosmic crucible. It's like a rehabilitation center for souls who violently destroyed their previous home, and now they are striving to unlearn their destructive tendencies and understand the law of one.
Wow. How does a soul even transfer from a destroyed planet to Earth, though?
Well, Ra introduces the mechanism of the harvest. It operates on these massive cosmic timelines. For a third-density planet like Earth, a major cycle lasts approximately 25,000 years.
Okay, 25,000 years.
And 3 of these cycles combine into a master cycle of roughly 75,000 years. At the end of each 25,000-year period, there is an opportunity for harvest. Entities who have sufficiently learned the lessons of love can graduate to a higher density.
But at the end of the full 75,000-year cycle, everyone is harvested, right?
Exactly. Because the planet itself upgrades its vibration.
The way Ra describes the actual experience of this harvest is deeply elegant, and it removes all our human concepts of punishment.
It really does.
Yeah.
Ra creates this image of a spirit moving along a line of light. At the end of a cycle, an entity steps onto this line.
And as they walk forward, the light of the Creator grows increasingly brilliant and intense.
The entity simply stops walking when the light becomes too glaring. Ra says they stopped in the vibratory distortion most comfortable to their mind-body-spirit complexes.
You really have to consider how radically different that is from our traditional religious frameworks. There is no judge sitting on a throne weighing your sins, handing down a verdict of heaven or hell.
No, not at all. It is an entirely automatic, self-sorting mechanism based purely on your own spiritual capacity.
You literally just walk into the light until your energetic structure can no longer handle the voltage, and that is where you stay.
Right. Stopping early isn't a cosmic punishment. It's simply an objective indicator of the specific curriculum you need to study in your next incarnation to expand your capacity for light.
It's like walking out of a really dark movie theater into the blazing midday sun. You instinctively throw your hands up, close your eyes, and just stop until you can adjust.
It is profound, absolute non-judgment.
Yeah, and this brings the entire conversation crashing into the present day. Because Dawn asks where Earth is currently situated in this timeline. Ra confirms that the 75,000-year master cycle is ending right now.
Ra states, this sphere is at this time in 4th dimension vibration, so the planet itself has already made the transition.
But the societal complex, meaning humanity, is, as Ra puts it, quite confused.
We are resisting the new vibration. Because the planet and the people are out of alignment, Ra warns that Earth will be fetched with some inconvenience.
Fetched with some inconvenience, which is just a stunningly polite, clinical way to describe severe planetary disharmony and societal trauma.
Right. Don asks if this inconvenience is imminent, and Ra replies that it actually began several years in the past, keeping in mind they were speaking in 1981, of course.
Yes.
And that it will continue unabated for a period of approximately 30 of our years.
This impending turbulence is exactly why Ra is speaking to Don's group. They say, "We remember sorrow, we have seen much."
Having watched humanity struggle since their days walking among us in those golden bodies, they have been searching for a deeply tuned instrument to offer clarity and reduce the distortions during this transition.
Which really highlights a fascinating tension in the room during this session. Ra is focused on the spiritual survival of humanity during a massive energetic shift. Don Elkins, meanwhile, is being incredibly pragmatic. Don admits to Ra that his strategy for disseminating this vital information is to ask about UFOs.
He knows that detailed spiritual philosophy doesn't fly off the shelves, but UFOs sell books.
Yes, exactly. He explicitly asks Ra if using the UFO phenomenon as a marketing hook is a correct objective.
The dynamic here is brilliant. Ra operates strictly within the bounds of honoring human free will. Ra tells Don he can proceed however he deems proper.
But Ra issues a gentle caveat. They say they will answer the questions, but they will weigh the information according to its true importance.
If Ra feels a topic is a distraction, their answers will totally reflect that. They humor Don's marketing strategy, but they won't pretend the spacecraft are the point of the teachings.
So Don dives in anyway. He asks if the disc-shaped craft are from Venus. Ra clarifies that their historical craft were bell-shaped, but they haven't used them in thousands of years.
Then Don pivots to the UFOs currently in our skies. Ra explains these craft belong to the Confederation of Planets in the service of the infinite creator.
And the scale of this confederation is just staggering. Ra notes it comprises approximately 53 civilizations and 500 planetary consciousness complexes.
They come from our own solar system and from other galaxies entirely. They are vastly different in origin, but they are entirely unified in their dedication to the law of one.
Ra notes that Earth is currently under quarantine, so any Confederation entity wishing to operate here must request permission from the Council of Saturn.
Ra mentions that at the time of this 1981 session, there were 7 Confederation craft operating in Earth's density.
But it's Ra's explanation of why they are operating in our skies that completely flips the script on ufology.
We constantly ask why they don't just land. Why don't they land on the White House lawn, initiate contact, and solve our geopolitical crises?
Right, that's what everyone wants to know.
But Ross says that is emphatically not their purpose. Ross states their mission is to allow those entities of your planet to become aware of infinity, which is often best expressed to the uninformed as the mysterious or unknown.
I really love this concept. They aren't here to give us answers, they are here to be a question.
Yes.
They deliberately appear as an anomaly, a light in the sky performing impossible physics, specifically to break the mundane illusion of our daily lives.
Because we get so trapped in our routines, thinking our jobs, our conflicts, and our physical bodies are the totality of existence.
Yeah, and the UFO appears to shatter that certainty. It forces the observer to look up and realize the universe is infinitely more complex. They use the mystery of the unknown as a signpost, pointing us back toward intelligent infinity.
It radically changes how we interact with mystery. The unknown isn't a puzzle waiting to be solved by science. The unknown is itself a spiritual tool designed to expand our consciousness.
And that is the exact thought I want to leave you with as we close today's contemplation. Look at how you interact with the unknown in your own life.
Yeah.
When you encounter a mystery, do you demand it be categorized, explained, and forced into a box so you can feel secure?
Are you endlessly chasing the spacecraft, looking for literal phenomena and blowing the hinges off the door for a quick experience?
Or are you willing to do the quiet, unhurried work, balancing the mind like a tree, tuning your own roots? Will you allow the mystery to remain mysterious, letting it serve its true purpose of pointing you toward the infinite light you will one day walk into?
Thank you for sitting with us. The source text is available at lawphone.info.